Nightfall draped over San Francisco, casting a soft glow from the city lights that danced across the shimmering waters of the bay. A gentle mist floated past the towering skyscrapers, blurring the once crisp skyline into a dreamy haze. The distant wail of car horns intertwined with the whisper of the breeze as it brushed along the cobbled streets. In this ever-hustling city, Nathan Cross stood out like a solitary star. In his mid-30s, he was the CEO of Cross Dynamics, a pioneer in the artificial intelligence revolution. Success, power, and striking good looks had made Nathan the embodiment of perfection in the public eye. In just a few days, he would marry Sophia Lane, a celebrated supermodel and social media goddess. With a thriving career and a seemingly flawless love story, Nathan appeared to be living the dream so many envied. Yet even amidst the dazzle of his accomplishments, a quiet emptiness gnawed at his soul, a void he couldn't name, but one he could no longer ignore. The night in San Francisco hummed on, alive with hidden energy, as Nathan Cross drove through the winding streets, his mind adrift in thoughts of the future, rapidly approaching. The wedding, Sophia, their new life together, everything seemed so perfectly aligned. He should have felt happy. He had convinced himself he was. But fate often chose the cruelest moments to shatter beautiful illusions. As his car glided past a luxury hotel by the bay, Nathan's gaze was inadvertently drawn to a scene that froze him in place. Beneath the warm golden lights, Sophia Lane, dressed in a striking crimson gown, was wrapped in the arms of another man. They weren't just chatting or laughing innocently, they were embracing. And then, like a dagger straight to his heart, the man leaned in and kissed Sophia deeply. Shock hit Nathan like an unexpected punch. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles turned white, his heart pounding violently against his ribs. His breathing became shallow, his mind a blur, unable to process the betrayal unfolding before him. He had spent a decade building his empire, crafting a legacy of influence and innovation, only to watch the woman he trusted desecrate it all in a single moment. In that instant, all his achievements, fame, and grand dreams, they all seemed utterly meaningless. As Sophia's silhouette disappeared beyond the hotel doors, Nathan Cross sat frozen in his car, a lost man in a world he once ruled. The sounds of the night city seemed distant, blurred into the hush of the wind brushing against the glass. Even the shimmering San Francisco Bay before him was veiled in a thin, cold mist, a perfect mirror to the emptiness swelling inside him. A part of Nathan wanted to charge forward, to drown his pain in furious action. But deeper still, a quieter voice yearned for something real, something that couldn't lie, couldn't betray. And in a quiet, unassuming corner of the city, Nathan found Lily Evans. The small cafe nestled beneath ancient maple trees, its warm yellow light spilling out through misted windows. Inside, Lily wiped down the worn wooden counter with careful, familiar movements, a silent lullaby to soothe the weary. At 27, Lily had no fame, no power. She had only her quiet resilience, her deep brown eyes, and a gentle smile capable of mending even the most battered hearts. Nathan had often come here before. A black coffee, a nod of acknowledgement, and he would leave without a word. To Lily, he was just another hurried stranger. Until tonight. Tonight, Nathan lingered by the counter, his eyes no longer sharp with detachment, but heavy with a sorrow too deep to name. "You're Lily, right?" he asked, his voice rough, as if clinging to a fragile thread of hope amid the ruins. Lily Evans blinked, momentarily caught off guard by the sudden question. Nathan Cross, the silent, aloof regular, now stood before her, his eyes filled with an emotion she couldn't quite name. A flicker of confusion crossed her face before she composed herself with a polite smile. "Yes, I'm Lily," she replied softly, still holding the damp cloth mid-swipe. Nathan hesitated for a moment, as if weighing each word carefully. The espresso machine hummed in the background, wrapping the moment in an odd, muted stillness. "Quieter tonight, isn't it?" Nathan said, his voice roughened by exhaustion. Lily smiled politely, setting the cleaning cloth aside. "Yes." On misty nights like this, the city seems to breathe a little softer. Nathan nodded, his gaze drifting away from the window and settling back on her. A brief silence stretched between them, not awkward, but strangely gentle, as if they shared a quiet understanding. "Do you like working here?" Nathan asked, a genuine curiosity softening his tone. Lily blinked, caught off guard by the unexpected question. She nodded. "I do. It's peaceful. It reminds me that I'm still real." Nathan let out a low, hollow chuckle. Brief, rough, and tinged with loneliness. "It sounds far better than the illusions I've spent so long chasing," he murmured, almost to himself. Then, as if reaching a silent decision, Nathan straightened and met her eyes squarely. "Are you busy tomorrow night?" Lily paused, feeling her heart skip a beat. "I don't have any plans," she replied cautiously. "Have dinner with me," Nathan said, his voice easy, almost casual. No pressure, no explanations. And just a glance, just a simple invitation, yet it stirred something deep within Lily. She hesitated for a heartbeat, then nodded, even though she wasn't quite sure what she had just agreed to. That evening, Lily Evans stood before the small mirror in her modest apartment, smoothing the simple black dress she rarely wore. A restless feeling stirred inside her, as if her instincts warned her that tonight would change everything. The restaurant Nathan had chosen sat atop a magnificent hotel, its golden lights floating into the misty sky like suspended stars. As she stepped inside, Lily felt as if she had crossed into another world, dazzling gowns, soft laughter, and discreet glances brushing against her like whispers. But when Nathan Cross rose to greet her, the brief warmth in his eyes blurred the strangeness around her into insignificance. They had barely settled when the sharp staccato of high heels rang out. Sophia Lane appeared, radiant in her emerald gown, moving with the regal grace of a queen without a crown. "Nathan," she cooed, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "I see you found new company rather quickly." Sophia's gaze swept over Lily with thinly veiled disdain. Yet Lily did not falter. She smiled, calm, poised, as if Sophia's words were nothing more than a passing breeze. Nathan stood, introducing her without hesitation. "Sophia, this is Lily Evans. She's my girlfriend." Sophia paused for the briefest of seconds, then let out a soft, crystalline laugh. Sweet, yet cold. "Girlfriend? Nathan, you do have a taste for interesting experiences." The air froze around them. Then Lily lifted her chin, her voice steady, soft, yet carrying an undeniable strength. "Not everyone knows how to recognize the true worth of a soul amidst the glitter, but fortunately I don't need every glance to understand who I am." Sophia's smile stiffened, the facade cracking slightly at the edges. And Nathan, for the first time that evening, regarded Lily with a different gaze, one of silent admiration, touched with a hint of awe. The air in the restaurant seemed to thicken after Lily's sharp yet graceful response. Sophia, stripped of her usual effortless dominance, could only stare coldly before turning on her heel, her stiletto heels striking the marble floor like bitter notes in a minor key. Nathan remained seated, his gaze lingering on Sophia's retreating figure until she vanished beyond the grand glass doors. When he turned back to Lily, the tired shadow in his eyes had shifted, replaced now by something else, astonishment, and a difficult-to-hide respect. Lily tightened her hands in her lap, masking the tumult within her chest. "You dragged me into a play I never agreed to be part of," she said quietly, her voice composed but cool. Nathan leaned back in his chair, a fleeting, almost sorrowful smile touching his lips. "I owe you an apology," he said softly, "and a proposition." Lily studied him warily, suspicion tightening in her chest. Nathan straightened, meeting her eyes squarely. "I want you to marry me, just for 7 days." The words seemed to freeze the very air between them. Lily blinked, struggling to comprehend. "Are you joking?" she whispered, anger threading through her shock. "No," Nathan said, his gaze unwavering. Just 7 days. After that, you're free to walk away, no strings, but in return," he paused, his voice deepening, "I will pay off all the debt you're carrying." It was as if someone had reached into Lily's chest and squeezed tight. She sat motionless, each word echoing in her mind like something too surreal to believe. "Sounds unfair to you," she murmured. Nathan gave a faint, sad smile. "No, Lily. It's a fair deal. You give me 7 days of something real, I give you a chance to start over." Lily stared into his eyes and saw not just anger or pride, but a desperate hope clinging to the edge of ruin. And for the first time, she found herself wavering. After that night at the restaurant, Nathan's strange proposal lingered quietly in Lily Evans's mind. She hadn't given him an answer right away. Nathan didn't push. Instead, he simply asked, "Let's truly get to know each other before you decide." And so the evenings passed, unfolding in ways Lily had never imagined. Nathan began picking Lily up after her shifts, not for lavish dinners or glittering galas, but for strolls down bustling streets, for steaming sandwiches from roadside vendors, for cold lemonade under strings of warm lights. Lily would laugh as Nathan struggled to manage an oversized burger, a sight so human, so real, it made him laugh too, something he hadn't done in far too long. Nathan, the man who had once known only champagne parties and million-dollar contracts, discovered a strange, aching peace in the simple things. One evening, as the city lay cloaked in a cool mist, they sat side by side on the riverbank, legs dangling over the stone ledge, each holding a plain vanilla ice cream cone. "Do you ever feel," Lily began, then hesitated, "like you're living inside a glass cage where people only see the surface?" Nathan stayed silent for a moment, then nodded. "I can't even remember the last time I felt truly free," he said, his voice low and sincere. Lily smiled sadly. "Same here. But instead of a glass cage, I live behind walls made of debt and duty." They looked at each other, and in that moment, the rest of the world faded away. There was only the quiet resonance of two lonely souls finding a rare and fragile connection. Without warning, Nathan leaned in, his blue eyes soft and full of unspoken emotion. And then, like a breath stolen by the wind, he kissed her. Not hungrily, not desperately, but with a quiet understanding, a silent sharing of burdens, and the tender breaking of years of solitude. Lily closed her eyes and surrendered to the moment, feeling, for the first time in years, truly seen. A week had passed since that night by the river, since a nameless kiss, since confessions neither of them thought they'd ever speak aloud. Lily Evans hadn't answered with words, but with quiet presence, beside Nathan, day by day, in moments that felt more real than anything either of them had known. Now she stood at the threshold of the old church, dressed in white, no lace, no sparkle. Just her, simple, complete. And Nathan waited at the end of the aisle, his gaze holding her like a promise unspoken, like the past week had rewritten something deep in them both. The organ played softly, the priest began to speak. But just as the first words echoed through the hall, the church doors swung open. All heads turned. Sophia Lane entered like a cold wind, still stunning, still composed, but her eyes glistened with tears. Gone was the pride, replaced by something bitter and undone. "Nathan, you can't do this," her voice trembled. "I was wrong, but I love you. I never stopped." No one responded. Lily quietly laid her bouquet down. She turned to Nathan. No accusations, no anger, just a quiet clarity in her eyes. "You owe me nothing, Nathan," she said softly. "No one can force the heart to go where it doesn't belong. If it was ever love, it will find its way back or let go." Nathan looked at Sophia, the symbol of a past he once chased blindly. Then he turned and took Lily's hand, the woman who had let him be himself, without shame or armor. "Please continue," he told the priest gently. Outside, the wind stirred the trees. Sophia turned away. And inside, Lily tightened her grip on Nathan's hand, as if, at last, both of them had chosen the right side of their lives. There were no fireworks, no lavish party after the ceremony. Only Nathan Cross and Lily Evans, quietly leaving the church beneath the gentle hues of the setting sun. Their fingers intertwined, no grand promises, just silent trust. In the old car rolling slowly through misty streets, they said nothing. But in that silence there was a vow stronger than any spoken word. Together, they would learn to love, learn to trust, and for the first time learn to live truly as themselves. After the simple yet meaningful ceremony, Lily Evans moved in with Nathan Cross into the sprawling house tucked along the bay. The once cold mansion was now filled with the soft sounds of Lily's laughter, the warm scent of simple baked goods from the kitchen, and moments of peace Nathan had once believed were beyond his reach. On their wedding night, under the soft golden glow that bathed their bedroom, Nathan discovered something he hadn't dared to imagine. Lily was untouched, pure as her spirit. In that moment, he didn't feel victorious. He felt blessed, as if life had entrusted him with something sacred. He held her gently, reverently, cherishing her not with haste or possession, but with a tenderness that spoke of deep, unspoken vows. The 7 days passed like a sweet dream. On the morning of the final day, while Lily busied herself making coffee in the kitchen, Nathan took out the contract and, without a word, tore it into small pieces right before her eyes. No grand speeches, no elaborate promises, only his gaze, steady, luminous, saying, "I choose you, not out of obligation, not out of revenge, but out of love." Lily wept then, the first tears she had shed since they met. Tears not of pain, but of a happiness so pure it stole her breath away. 3 years later, in the small garden behind their home, the sweet sound of a child's laughter danced under the bright sun. Nathan cradled their little boy, a toddler with the same deep blue eyes, giggling as he called out "Daddy" in his sweet baby voice. Lily, in a simple floral dress, ran towards them, wrapping her arms around both, her eyes sparkling with wordless joy. Their lives were no longer built on contracts, wounds, or illusions. Only Nathan, Lily, and their child, a family they once thought they'd never deserve. A family woven from forgiveness, trust, and the purest truths. And in Nathan Cross's heart, for the first time, love was no longer a distant dream, but something he could touch every day, every precious moment, beside those he loved most.